Welcome back, everyone. The ship seems to be coming along pretty well, and on first impressions looking at this, after signing off on the last video, cause damn, it was a rough day yesterday for me, cause I ended up doing the video stuff there, and of course I forgot to save the actual game campaign itself, so just like what happened previously with, I think it was the Hornet there, I had to rebuild everything from scratch, so didn't really get much chance to think about how to enhance the ship. Unfortunately, I was just done with it after yesterday because of that. But progress has come along well. It's got really good bulk to it. The nose needs work. So I think with that said, let's just shift directions a little bit here and start working on the back some. I think there isn't really a whole lot that needs to be done aside for like the shell cosmetic stuff on top, maybe, to kind of smooth it out. But let's see about like at least finishing off with the back. It could almost be just a simple matter of just having like an engine on there. Is almost what it feels like. Cause hell, putting that engine there wouldn't work very well. It's kind of too out of place with the metal. I'm just wondering if I invert the colors. That just looks odd because now we have what looks like the normal body kind of circling around the engines there, so that doesn't really fit. I'm willing to bet. Not to mention it's way too big. So maybe someday that engine will be put to effective use, but not today. Do I even want to put an engine on it right away, or is there something else I could put on? What could I even begin to put on here, besides for maybe something circular to kind of smooth it out? Piece sideways like this would be horrible for smoothing it out, I think, because then we have the rough edge on the side, which I guess technically could be filled out. It'd just be a really stupid thought, but hey, I spent a lot of time on that cockpit there, wasting time, so I'm sure I'm okay with experimenting with this. No, already I'm not liking it because the top textures is kind of really out of whack. Don't think it really works very well. But I won't give in just yet. We'll just put into place once I get the right axis there. Cause yeah, that's really odd. It would need a lot of work there if I were to stick with that, quite frankly. Cause it can round it out, it looks like it's really rough, needless to say. It looks like it could be a wheel, a track or something. So no, don't think I'm gonna do that, but how do we solve this? How do we smooth this out? Probably need a combination of a couple pieces here. Maybe this component could do it. It's circular. It will need to be widened quite a bit there. And the lighting is also an issue. It's just a question of how long do I want it. Because I can make it really long. That's a little excessive, mind you. But I am curious to see how it affects the entire feel of the ship. Unless I have it sticking out like a long engine. Because remember, this thing's supposed to be going at cruise speed. So, I kind of could work with that. Now, do I wind it? Will winding it help? It's kind of weird, needless to say. I almost want to say makes the ship too bulky. And what if how thin is too thin? Because another thought I had is maybe if I had two of them instead, maybe that'll change the look and feel of it some. Let's see. Not quite, I'm afraid to say. It doesn't seem to do it justice. Unless I can do something crazy here with the winding. Nah. Too much weird texturing. I do like where the single piece is going though. I do like the potential there. Again, we'll need to cover up the lane there and probably sink it in a little. Hell, I wonder what happens if I sink it in more. Just to cut off a lot of that, because that doesn't look too bad there. I kind of like that potential. It's got good length to it. Curve fits with the engines. It's just that lighting once again. Although, we can work with the lane. We can work with that. I'm just wondering if shrinking the set axis is ideal or not. Hell, even having it shorter is even almost better too, quite frankly. How about we go ridiculous and just stick with just the ending of it? Aside from the bottom there not fitting in properly, it's good. It's good. I like it. Just try and place it properly. The light's almost completely gone. That fits decently, I have to say. I like the fit. I like the fit a lot there. Again, we'll still have to work on the bottom and the side here. That's going to take a little bit of work. I'm almost half tempted to shrink the side here to kind of narrow it. Because I don't know if I want it so wide anymore. After what we experienced with the cockpit, so maybe narrowing it might help. Of course, narrowing it down means we have to move the paddles, move the engines in place. And that throws everything out of whack, but I'm willing to deal with that. Now, we just narrow this bulk. I don't know how much I shrunk it, so this will take a little bit of experimenting. There, that narrows it down, and it ruins everything. Well, it doesn't really ruin everything, it just ruins this one piece here, which can easily be remedied. And that narrows it down a bit. Only thing I don't like now that sticks out is these paddles are a little big, aren't they? So is there a way I can shrink that down even more? The concern was the metal frame and not working consistently with it there, but hey, it's already kind of small to begin with, so that may not be too bad. Maybe. Don't hold me to it just yet. Because we got a metal frame here, we got that with the metal frame. That all seems to connect well. I'm almost tempted to get rid of those paddles altogether to see if the engine can fit properly without that, like extra support. Like I hide this basically, well I said hide, not invert it. I'm gonna have to remember these numbers, so worst case if it gets thrown off I'll just use the recording to remember this. So negative -1, 2, and 4, 2. Let's see how badly this works, because I'm likely going to forget. Not to mention the scale might be too big now. Do I want to shrink it? It could just be it's too long. I am risking to ruin everything, aren't I? Because now I completely forget the number because I'm changing too many numbers. Like now the set axis I don't remember. Oh my, we're on to a good start with this part of the shipbuilding. But hey, we're making progress. We just gotta finish. We just gotta fix this a little bit here. That's really all it is. I don't know how exactly I want to finish it or fix it. But this is the only one main component, and of course with the component hidden, I'll have to consider revealing it again just to see. It's just the awkwardness of this one piece here, which doesn't look too bad from the bottom. It just needs to be flushed out on the side. So this sounds like a job for shell pieces, which I got an ample number of. But first let's fix up this one piece here, because that has been thrown off out of whack a little bit, and I want to correct that if I can help it. We're getting that duckbill piece again there. I'm starting to get paranoid after what happened last time, fiddling with this kind of component. Let's see, that's almost seamlessly in there except for the little tip, so do I rotate more or just adjust the scaling a tiny bit more? There, that fits almost seamlessly. There are a little bit of issues with the metal trim, but that's seamless. Now this piece, I do like how it looks on the bottom. It's just sticking out too much. Maybe it's too wide. If I sink in it more, it still looks good. We still get that little component sticking out still. So it's not as bad. It's just got the big belly here from the bottom portions that I narrowed, but I didn't really flatten any. So there's still that to work on. So how do we fix that exactly? We can try fixing it by adding some accessories and cosmetics down on the bottom. We could try adding more on the top to kind of like offset it some. And we do need like shells in that anyway. And what's this component? Oh, that's a little bit, what is it? Textures like over showing from there. There we go. That's an easy fix. I almost wonder if I want to narrow that some more. Do I want to narrow it? Is that a good idea? It doesn't really hurt, quite frankly. Especially since it seems like there's some components overlapping down below. That should fix it. It's not really noticeable, although the highlights, it lets you know that it's part of that component. This back component, but it doesn't really seem that obvious, so I'll stick with it as is. And I do like the very faint amount of lighting there. If we can get that consistent for like the side portion here, have like maybe one or just the two bottom lights showing, then we are actually doing well for ourselves. Come to think of it, do I want to rotate this? Is that a good idea? Because it gets rid of that massive metal trim, sort of, in exchange for having to deal with the massive metal trim up top. So maybe not. Unless I just make it higher. Well, if I make it higher, I'll have to readjust it some, which is going to be a bit of a hassle. So, how does that seem? I kind of want to lower because it's intruding on the front of the engines there because I narrowed it. Well, before I do it, how do I feel about the engines? I like them. I think they're the right size there. I just need something kind of like smaller, more miniaturized to kind of complement them. Because when they're the only engines there, they stick out like a sore thumb a little bit. Even though they do fit the theme I'm looking for. So I think, whoops, after the crazy camera issues we're having here, I should put like two engines underneath or on the bottom there. Heck, I could almost, well, I take that back. There was a little bit of a gap appearing in the back of these hollow pieces before, but since that's not there anymore, I should just connect it to the side. So where was I? Seeing if I need to adjust the paddles, because there is a little bit of tiny overlap. And it could back up a little bit because the metal frame is not properly connected. Still tiny bit of textures, so maybe I just scaling to fix that? Maybe. It just looks odd here because of that random metal that's sticking out. That's one thing I do dislike. So let's get crazy with the rotation just to see if there's like a better angle or something I can use. Like we can have this flat piece here with of course a little bit of metal, and it sticks out a bit down there, or we can flip it like this. We get a decent amount of metal there, but how's the top look? Still the same as before. So that doesn't really change much. Aside from maybe the angle these metal bars kind of curve in, I think there's a slight difference. Yeah, let's see, and because of the highlight it doesn't look the best. So it's just the nose. It really is just the nose that's causing me issue there with the set axis. Yeah. Let's see, maybe not the best idea. Because that blue line there kind of signifies as like the bottom or something, or underbelly. That's the feeling I get. And with it sticking on the side, who am I kidding? I'm going to put shells on here. We'll stick with that for now, and maybe... Okay, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh wait, now I know. Looking at this there again, I got distracted. I had to take care of something quickly. We were going to throw engines on here and a shell piece to kind of correct this cosmetic stuff. So, with that said, what kind of engine would be good? We want smallest thrusters. The only interesting question is, how do I get thrusters that are smaller than these dual ones here? Because the engine itself, obviously I can get the engine smaller, but if I take a lot of these singular ones, they're going to probably look bigger. Well, I probably want circuit ones first. That's probably my first issue. Because these engines are going to look bigger. Yeah, they're slightly bigger than the ones on top. That's an issue I have, first off. So I wonder how I can make this work. Or it can... Actually, this singular thruster there can work. Once I make sure I have this component selected. That could work if I give it the right scaling. Where do I want to put it though? I kind of want to put it on the side here. And then we drop it down and we'll have a look and judge. Because obviously I'm going to adjust the set axis there, but I'm wondering if I want to change anything else with it. Or even more, bigger question, do I want to put multiple of these smaller thrusters on? Because these are kind of small, I probably do need to make it a little bigger. So we'll stick with 30. That seems to be a little better. Only concern I have now is it's sticking out too much. So let's see, how does the lane seem to work? There's some weird lane issue I have there, but again, a shell could fix that. I'm just wondering where I would like to put these engines at. Do I put more flush in? Probably not. I want it sticking out some. At least a little bit. And hell, I could just put in a good amount. Enough that it doesn't really sink in there, quite frankly. And let's see. I'm curious. There is something I'm not liking here about this auxiliary thrusters, essentially. Maybe I want even bigger. Is it size or just length that I'm having an issue with as far as these engines are concerned? Let's see, that looks better. A little bit. How am I feeling with the placement though now? Or does it need to be lower? Maybe it needs to be lower. Which means it's no longer covering the light, but... The placement when you're looking at the back doesn't look the best, but how does it look on the side? I like it. It just goes to show we need more superstructure kind of curve into the cockpit, I think, if we're going to leave the engine like that, though. I don't know. I think I like what my original thought was. Maybe I have multiple engines. This one will be a lot smaller. Gonna be weird having so many different type of engines, though. It's gonna seem like a lack of consistency, though. But bear with me a moment. Let's rotate this in a way. Seems more deliberate in design. And maybe what I do instead, do the X-Wing kind of thing, get like another copy of those two engines and put them down here. That is not a good position there. That's not the spot I want. Let's try it again. It's just having a hard time getting the spot I would like. So let's get the copy of the scale. 63, 60, 97. Alright, so 97 and 60 if I remember correctly. My, do I have a short-term memory there, feels like. And judge from there how I feel. Oops. Well, we're getting a lot more engines out of it. Let's go real crazy. Well, now this thing's cruising. I think it's overkill. I'm just saying. Quite frankly, it might still be overkill with 4 of them, with how big they are. So, how do I do this? Does it help with the issue I'm having? Because now I'm thinking there's too many engines. I'll just delete that and work with this. And see if that helps any. well, it helps, gives a more consistent look. That's one thing I do like about it. But that's kind of a cheap way to keep it consistent, is it? Especially, well, considering I had the engines way up on top, maybe it does help. But again, my concern is making it's kind of cheap almost. A cheap way to make it consistent. And mirroring does not work very well there either, so. Now, the only thing I need is like to flesh out the bottom and kind of narrow it into the cockpit. I really do need to think on that. Is that too many engines? What if I hide it? I kind of like the top engines too much, but it feels like it would just do nothing but barrels or spin constantly, doing flips with the amount of thrust that's expected from it. What do you think aerodynamically? Or at least in logical sense? There's nothing logical about building these spaceships though. Now, what I could probably do is adjust the placement maybe? Can I get away with a little bit of the placement being adjusted? Because that helps change the dynamics some. To help, like, mix it up a little bit, as it were. Because I don't want it to be completely consistent after all. That sounds unoriginal to me. And let's see. I do need to do something to plug up these caps here. I don't think I want all those massive blue lights showing up. One thing I don't like. Then we start working on the bottom and try and narrow it in. How to narrow it in though? Because we got this flat piece here, which has that simple curvature to it. Only problem is I placed it in the wrong spot. So that was not a good first attempt. And I hit it again. For some reason, I thought it was getting nice and centered, and apparently not. It helps if I can get a nice blue lighting, like that. Only thing is the metal frame. It's like the only component that has like all these different metal pieces sticking out, which I do not want, do not like. Plus, how do you fix that curvature to kind of make it spill into the cockpit area? It would have to be very minor, nothing drastic, I think. So, I think we may have to work on the cockpit some more before we can solve that question. Which is kind of what I'm dreading. I feel like I'm it feels like I'm making progress there, but at the same time, it feels like I can do it so wrong if I were to keep pursuing it. Now, let's get this into place, see if we can do something about this piece. Now, how do I want this? Do I want to just connect with the front portion or just stretch all the way back? Because there's a couple of ways we can do this. Oops, that is the wrong scaling altogether. Wow. I'm so used to affecting the length and width of it. And of course that is the length and width. I just completely forgot about it. Now, let's adjust the proper axis a bit more and then back it in. There is a bit of a gap there though, isn't there? Now I think what I need to do is change the rotation snap some. See how that works. I don't think I want any of the metal frame to stick out, quite frankly. It's a start, but again, bit of a gap there. But that's gonna come when I'm ready to fix up the cockpit, I think. Which of course is not really properly fitted, is it? Like I said, I had to rebuild this, and I think parts of the front is a little bit out of place. And that is apparent now. So let's see. And it doesn't really solve the issue I have there. I have to deal with the blockiness a little. But one thing I haven't really noticed, that I'm starting to like, is that this one side piece here almost seems like it seamlessly connects this piece here. So if I can widen enough there and just do it right, it'll feel like it can be one piece almost. In that case, it almost feels like it should be upside down. Almost. I just don't want that metal trim at all. I think I want the metal trim gone, so that means I have to stretch it out more if I'm going to do it like that. And hope it doesn't overlap too much. And then there's this piece here, which I'm not fond of. Fill in there, get rid of the metal, but of course now the nose is gone. Our duckbill nose is gone forever. Here's hoping. Because I know I did something wrong, because it doesn't seem like the nose is quite the same. Not to mention the cockpit there is not covered over anymore. So there's that thought too.